The arena shook with noise. Thousands of voices echoed across the metal walls. Alien flags waved. Dust rose from the sand below. Spotlights spun wildly over the crowd, finally stopping in the center ring. There, an 8-foot warrior stood tall. Her name was Karana. She was a living legend. Muscles like steel. Sharp teeth. Glowing eyes. Battle tattoos covered her arms and chest. She had won every fight in the arena for 3 cycles. No challenger had lasted more than 3 minutes. And today, she would fight a human. The crowd laughed when they saw him. Sergeant Rain Malik. He looked small next to her. Thin. Quiet. Calm. No heavy armor. No weapon. Just a simple black suit. Tight gloves and eyes that didn't blink. Karana smirked. "This is the best your species has?" she shouted. "Do you send boys to fight warriors?" The crowd roared with laughter, but Rain didn't speak. He just looked at her, steady, like he had already seen how this would end. The bell rang. The fight had begun. Karana stepped forward quickly, shaking the ground with her steps. She raised her massive blade and swung it hard, fast and heavy like a falling wall. But Rain was gone. In the time between her swing and the wind it made, he had already moved. Not far. Just enough. Just right. The blade slammed into the sand, exploding. Dust into the air. Karana growled. "Lucky move, human." Rain said nothing. He tilted his head slightly, his hands still at his sides. Karana moved again, this time with more control. She stepped to the side, then came low, swinging a leg meant to crush bones. Rain jumped, light, silent, and landed. Behind her she turned fast, but he was already walking. Calm. Slow circles, studying her, like a teacher watching a student struggle. Karana's face twisted in frustration. "Stand still and fight," she shouted. Rain's voice came low and smooth. "You swing like a mountain. And mountains don't win battles." The crowd was quieter now, not laughing, not cheering, just watching. Karana charged this time, a full run, blade up, teeth out. But Rain dropped to the ground, spun on one hand, and kicked her leg hard from the side. She stumbled. It wasn't a strong hit, but it was perfect. Her leg bent wrong. Pain shot up her thigh. She hissed in shock. No one had ever made her lose balance. Rain stopped a few steps away. He finally raised his hands. Not fists. Open palms. A calm fighting pose from ancient earth training. Karana lifted her blade again. "This time slower. You think you scare me?" she asked. "No," Rain said. "I think you're already scared." Her eyes widened. For a second she hesitated, and that second, it was too long. Rain rushed forward. 3 fast steps. Left hand blocked her wrist. Right elbow slammed into her ribs. His knee struck her thigh. Again, same spot. She dropped to one knee. The crowd gasped, not from fear, from shock, from disbelief. The champion was down. Karana breathed hard, blood on her lip. She looked up at him, still standing, still calm. No mark on him. He didn't raise his hands for the crowd. He didn't shout. He just whispered something only she could hear. "You bleed red too." Her hands trembled. The crowd fell silent. And for the first time in her life, Karana realized she might lose. To a human. To someone smaller. To someone who never once looked afraid. Blood dripped from Karana's mouth. Not much. Just enough. Enough to tell the whole arena something unthinkable. She was hurt. The crowd didn't cheer. They didn't laugh. They just watched in silence. Every eye on the giant warrior kneeling, in sand, and the human standing tall in front of her. Rain Malik didn't blink, didn't move, just waited, his hands open, calm, deadly. Karana stood slowly. Her pride hurt more than her leg. "Lucky shots," she growled. "Precision," he replied. "Not luck. You think this is over, little man? It's already begun." She roared and charged again, this time faster. No weapon, just fists, Massive fists built to crush bones. She swung wide, left fist aiming for his head. Rain didn't duck. He stepped forward. Inside the swing. His hand caught her wrist, turned it. His elbow crashed into her jaw. Karana stumbled back, stunned. The crowd gasped again. No one had ever stepped toward her punch. Rain still didn't blink. She tried again. A heavy knee toward his ribs. He shifted, just slightly, and her knee hit air. His foot came up, low strike. Clean hit to the back of her ankle. Her balance failed again. She growled, furious now. "Stop dancing and fight." Rain stepped close, leaned in, and whispered, "I am fighting. I just don't need to scream to do it." Her punch came from the side, fast. Wild. Rain caught her forearm, twisted, and used her size against her. He slammed her to the ground face first. She hit the sand hard, breath flying from her chest. The crowd didn't cheer. They couldn't. They were shocked, speechless. Karana lay still for 2 seconds, then slowly pushed herself up, breathing heavy. "How are you doing this?" she asked. "I trained," he replied softly. "Against me?" "Against worse. There's nothing worse than me." Rain leaned in, eyes sharp. "You haven't seen Earth's wars." Karana froze, something in his voice, like he had lived through things that broke planets. Rain stepped back, let her rise. He didn't attack. He gave her a chance to stand again. Karana stood, dizzy, rage in her chest, but something else too. Fear. Not of death, not of pain, but of losing, of being proven wrong, of being less than human. The crowd was dead silent. One alien child whispered to his father, "Is the human winning?" The father didn't answer. He didn't know. Because something strange was happening in the ring. Karana was changing. Her eyes narrowed, her breathing calmed. For the first time, she respected her opponent. "You're not just a human," she said. "I'm a Marine," he replied. "You fight without anger, because anger clouds the target. You fight like you've already won." Rain stepped forward. "Because when I stepped into this ring, you already thought I lost, and that's your biggest mistake." Karana took a deep breath and bowed her head for half a second, not as surrender, but as respect. Rain didn't bow. He just waited, focused, still not blinking. And somewhere high above them, in the box of royal judges and warlords, a voice said quietly, "We need to watch this human closely. He's more dangerous than we thought." Sand cracked under Karana's feet. She stood still for a second, then raised her arms high. Her muscles rippled. Her battle tattoos glowed red. And then, she screamed, a deep, thunderous sound that shook the arena walls. Battle mode. Her body expanded, slightly. Armor plates grew from under her skin. Her fingers turned into claws. Her back flexed as 2 thick bone spikes pushed out. The crowd finally remembered how to cheer. Karana, Karana, Karana. A fire ignited in her eyes. She wasn't just a fighter now. She was a weapon. Across the arena, Rain Malik didn't move. He studied her, watched her grow stronger, louder, more dangerous. But his face stayed calm. No surprise. No fear. Just quiet control, he whispered. "Let's see what your power does with purpose." Karana leapt forward, her body heavier, faster. She struck with both claws, sharp, glowing. Rain dodged right, but this time, just barely. Her claw sliced the air where his neck had been a second ago. He stepped back. His arm had a scratch now. First blood. Karana grinned wide. "You bleed. Finally." Rain looked at the scratch, then at her. "Good. Now we both know it's real." She didn't stop. A storm of attacks followed. Kicks, swipes, slams, every strike heavier than before. Rain blocked one with his forearm. Crack, pain. He flew backward and rolled across the sand. The crowd cheered. For the first time, Rain Malik was down. Karana walked toward him slowly, her voice deeper now. "Changed," Still standing, human? Rain stood, one arm hanging weakly, his face scratched, but he smiled. I told you. I'm already fighting. Now you've just caught up. She roared and charged again. Her claw swung wide, aiming for his chest. Rain ducked, stepped in and punched her jaw hard. The sound echoed like stone cracking. Karana staggered back. Not because of force, but timing. He had hit the perfect spot. Again, even in pain, even in blood, his moves were still precise. They circled now, both bleeding, both breathing hard. No more cheers. The crowd watched like it was sacred, a warrior and a marine, not enemies, now just two souls testing the edge of what was possible. Karana wiped blood from her lip, her eyes never leaving him. I thought humans were weak. Rain nodded slowly. You were right. Her brow raised. What? We are weak, he said. But that's why we train harder, why we never quit, why we always learn your strengths and your blind spots. Karana's grip tightened. I have no blind spots. Rain took a slow step forward. Then why are you shaking? She looked down, her legs trembling, from exhaustion, from stress, from fear. Her claws lowered just a bit. Rain whispered, This fight isn't about muscle. It's about mind. And you're running out of reasons to stand. She screamed again, trying to push it away. But this scream wasn't rage. It was panic. She threw a wild punch. Rain caught her wrist, spun behind her, and kicked the back of her knee. She dropped to the sand, one knee. The crowd gasped. Karana's breathing was heavy. Her hands sank into the dirt. And Rain? He stood behind her, calm, silent, watching, not smiling, not mocking, just waiting. Karana finally spoke. Low voice. Shaking. What do you want? Rain answered simply. To show you. He stepped around and stood in front of her again. That, humans may be small. He leaned close. But when we stand for something, he whispered. We don't fall. Karana stayed on one knee. The sand was cold under her hands. Her breathing slowed. Her heart pounded loud in her ears. Never in her life had she knelt in a fight. Never had she lost ground like this. And never had an enemy refused to strike when they could win. Rain Malik stood before her. His arm was bruised, his lip bleeding, but his eyes were still calm, still watching her like she was a person, not a beast. The crowd didn't cheer. They didn't know what to say. The arena had gone from roar to silence, one warrior on her knees, the other standing, quietly, a fight without a finish, a war without a winner. Karana looked up at him. Why don't you end it? Rain answered gently. Because it already ended. Then finish me. No. She frowned. You think I'm not worth your blade? You're worth more than the blade. She stared at him, not in hate now, but in confusion. She tried to stand, her legs shook, her pride heavier than her muscles. She finally forced herself up, chest heaving. But Rain took one small step back, giving her space, not pressing the fight. What are you doing? She asked. Giving you a choice, he said. No one gives choices in the pit. Then maybe that's the problem. She blinked slowly. His words hit her harder than any strike had. You could have killed me. Yes. You beat me. No, he said. You just beat yourself. Because you never thought you'd need more than strength. The crowd listened closely now, like students watching two teachers speak. Karana's claws retracted, her spikes pulled back into her body. Her battle mode faded. She looked smaller now, but not weaker. Just real. You confuse me, human, she said. That's okay, Rain replied. Understanding comes after confusion. Karana looked at her hands. They trembled. I don't know who I am, if not the champion. Then it's time to find out, he said. She looked up at him and asked, quietly, help me? Rain reached out a hand, not to pull, not to control, just to offer. Stand with me, he said, not against me. She took his hand. slowly, gently, and when their hands touched, the crowd stood, not in anger, not in protest, but in respect, because something greater than a fight had happened today. A shift. Far above the pit, in the skybox of judges and warlords, silence still held. One alien general broke it. He didn't just defeat her. Another whispered, he converted her. Back in the arena, Karana turned to the crowd. She raised Rain's hand with hers, not as prisoner, not as prey, but as equal. And in that moment, the entire arena began to cheer. Loud, deep, pure, not for blood, not for fear, but for honor. That day, legends changed. The human Marine didn't win with strength. He won with something far harder to master, mercy. The arena was empty now. No crowds, no lights, no shouting, just silence. And two warriors walking side by side through the cold halls beneath the stadium. Karana hadn't said a word since the fight ended. Her body still ached, not from wounds, from change. Every step echoed like a question in her mind. Why didn't he finish me? Why did he offer me his hand? And why did I take it? Rain walked calmly beside her, not as a winner, not as a savior, just present. When they reached the quiet resting chamber, Karana sat down on the floor, not a throne, not a chair. The ground. Her armor retracted completely, showing old scars beneath the surface. Some from battles, some from before. Rain placed a water flask near her without speaking. She picked it up slowly and drank like she hadn't in days. Finally, she spoke, soft, shaky. You broke me. Rain didn't answer, but you didn't shatter me. He sat down across from her. No. Why? Because I saw something in you, he said. What? Someone still becoming. Karana laughed once, short, dry. I'm too old for that. No one is. I ruled the pit, crushed armies, made grown beasts cry. But you never stopped to ask why. She looked up. That hit harder than any punch. No, she whispered. There was a long silence. Then Karana leaned forward, her voice heavier. What now? Rain replied simply. Now. You train. Train? With me. Karana frowned. As your student? As someone learning a better way. She looked down at her hands. And what do I do with the monster inside me? Rain leaned forward. You don't fight it. You teach it. You give it something worth protecting. She didn't respond for a long time, then slowly placed her fist to her chest, a salute of ancient warriors, one not given lightly. Then teach me, human. Rain smiled faintly. I already am. The next day, the pit was silent again, but not empty. Karana stood in the center, not with weapons, not with armor, just with balance, control, discipline. And Rain walked around her, calling soft commands. Lower your stance, watch my feet, don't rush, breathe. Karana followed, every move careful, every mistake owned. Alien guards who once feared her now watched with wide eyes. She wasn't a queen now, she was a student, and somehow, she looked more powerful than ever. After hours of training, she collapsed onto the sand, panting. Rain tossed her a water pack. She caught it with one hand, smirking. You're harder than any trainer I've had. You were harder than any opponent I've had, he replied. She sat up, and for the first time said it out loud. Thank you for not finishing me. Rain looked at her, his voice quiet. You were never my enemy. Just someone who needed a mirror. She stood slowly, and said with real strength now, I won't ask for mercy again. Next time, I'll earn it. Rain nodded. Then, show me. Karana smiled, and dropped into her stance again. This time, not to kill, but to grow. The arena was still. No blood, no blades, no cheering, just soft footsteps across the sand. Karana stood in the center again, Not as a champion, not as a beast, but as a student. Her giant frame moved with grace now, arms steady, breath calm, eyes focused. Rain walked around her slowly. His voice was clear. Strong. Your strength is not in your fists anymore. It's in your control. Karana nodded, sweat on her brow. But no anger, only focus. Days had passed since the fight. Weeks, maybe. No one challenged Rain again, and Karana, she didn't return to the throne. She stayed on the training floor. Morning to night. Learning human methods. Learning human mindsets. Pain was no longer her enemy. Ego was. Guards used to step away when she passed. Now they watched. Quietly, curiously. Few even joined her exercises, hesitant at first, then serious. They had never seen the Pit Queen this way, teaching, sharing, inviting. One day, while training footwork, Karana paused. "Why do humans move so much?" she asked. Rain smiled. "Because we don't wait for death, we make it chase us," she grunted in approval. "I like that." "Good," Rain said. "Because today, you lead." Karana blinked. "Me? You've earned it." And so she did. That same day, for the first time ever, Karana led a circle of mixed fighters, aliens of all sizes, all colors, no weapons, no rules, just rhythm, just breath. She taught what Rain taught her and added her own. When you strike, don't just hit. Mean it. When you fall, don't cry. Learn from it. They listened because she had lived it, and that made her more than strong. That made her true. Later, while sitting under the torchlights, Karana turned to Rain, her voice low. "I've broken many things." He looked at her. "And now you build. But what if this piece once breaks too?" Rain nodded slowly. "It might. And if someone challenges it? Then we don't fight them with fists," he said. "What then? We fight them with the way we live." That night, an injured trainee dropped their blade in the sand and cried out. Others stepped away. Karana walked forward and helped him up. No shouting, no mocking, just a nod and a calm voice. Again. The next morning, someone had painted something on the arena wall, simple words, in 2 languages, hers and Rain's. Strength means nothing without purpose. And the pit, once known only for death, began to feel alive. Not because blood stopped flowing, but because something deeper had started growing. Hope. The arena gates shook again, but not from cheering, from something heavy walking through them. A new challenger had arrived, taller than Karana, wider than Rain. His name was Vorak, a war champion from the Blood Moons, known for burning 10 villages with his bare hands, known for breaking fighters and laughing while they begged. He stood in the center ring, armor glowing red. "I came to fight the one who broke the queen," he roared. "Where is the human?" Rain stood up in the viewing balcony. He looked, down at the beast in the pit, but before he could move, Karana stepped forward. "You'll fight me," she said. The entire crowd turned. Even Rain was still. Karana walked calmly into the arena. No blade, no armor. Just her strength. And her purpose. Vorak laughed. You begged on your knees." Karana didn't blink, and stood back up stronger. "I will crush you. Try." The bell rang. Vorak charged like a tank. Karana didn't flinch. She stepped to the side, light on her feet, and slapped his elbow with a sharp strike. His arm shook. "What was that?" He barked. "A warning," she said. He attacked again, faster, harder. But Karana moved with grace, like Rain had taught her. Not wild, not angry, just exact. She blocked his punch, twisted behind him, and kicked his leg from under him. The crowd gasped again, like the first time. Vorak stumbled, snarled, and grabbed a weapon from the ground. "This is a fight to the death." Karana raised a hand. "Not anymore." "You fear the old way?" "No," she said. "I buried it." He lunged, but she met him head-on. Claws against claws, fire against calm, and Karana won. Not by breaking him, but by controlling herself. She knocked the blade from his hand, knelt beside him as he gasped, and whispered, "This pit is no longer ruled by fear." The crowd stood, not in fear, not in bloodlust, but in respect. Karana helped Vorak to his feet. He looked into her eyes, and slowly nodded. Later, Rain met her in the center ring. "You didn't just defend yourself," he said. "I defended the way." He nodded. "And what do you call this way?" Karana looked up at the stars above the pit and smiled. "The human way." In the days that followed, the arena changed. Fighters came to learn, not kill. Crowds came to witness honor, not horror. And on the gate of the arena, carved deep into the wall, was a message in 2 languages. She once ruled with fear. Now she leads with balance.